My beloved child, pause for a moment. Breathe. Still your racing thoughts. What you are hearing right now is not accidental, and this moment is not passing by chance. January 3 has arrived carrying a weight that few will recognize, but your spirit already feels it. A decision stands before you today, and heaven is watching how you respond. This is not about tomorrow, next week, or someday in the future. This is about now. One choice made today has the power to shift your entire life path. There are moments when time feels ordinary, and then there are moments when eternity leans in. This is one of those moments. The reason your heart feels restless, the reason your mind keeps returning to the same question, the reason you feel an unseen pressure, it is because a door has opened. Archangel Michael is standing guard at that door, urging you to pay attention, because once this door closes, the path ahead will not look the same again. You may feel torn. One voice tells you to stay where you are, to keep things safe, predictable, familiar. Another voice, quieter but stronger, keeps pulling you forward. That second voice is not fear, and it is not imagination. It is divine instruction. Heaven is not asking you to rush blindly, but it is warning you not to delay out of comfort. Delay has a cost today. Hear this clearly. The decision before you is not only about what you choose to do, but who you choose to become. The old path has taught you many lessons, but it cannot take you where God is leading you next. Something you have been tolerating, an environment, a habit, a relationship, or even a belief about yourself, has reached its expiration date. If you ignore this nudge, the stagnation will grow heavier. If you respond, alignment will follow. Archangel Michael steps forward in this moment not with fear, but with clarity. His message is sharp because protection is required. There is spiritual resistance around this decision, not because it is wrong, but because it is right. Whenever a life-shifting breakthrough approaches, opposition tries to distract, confuse, or exhaust you. That is why you have felt unusually tired, distracted, or emotionally stretched lately. This is not weakness. It is confirmation that something important is unfolding. Do not underestimate the power of a single yes. History is shaped by small moments of obedience that look insignificant at first. Today is one of those moments. What you choose on January 3 will quietly rearrange your future. Opportunities will either begin to align or slowly drift away. People meant to walk with you will recognize you, while others will naturally fall out of your life. This is not loss. It is refinement. You may be waiting for a sign that feels louder, clearer, more dramatic. But heaven often speaks in stillness so that only those who are listening will hear. The sign is not coming later. The sign is this message finding you when it did. The sign is the feeling in your chest as these words land. The sign is the inner knowing you cannot explain, yet cannot shake. Archangel Michael warns you gently but firmly, do not let fear disguise itself as logic today. Overthinking is the enemy of obedience. If you feel called to speak, speak. If you feel called to step away, step away. If you feel called to begin something new, begin, even if you do not see the full picture yet. Clarity often follows movement, not the other way around. This decision is not about perfection. It is about alignment. God is not asking you to have all the answers, only the courage to trust. When you move in faith today, unseen forces will move with you. Delays will break. Confusion will lift. A new rhythm will begin to form in your life, one that feels lighter, clearer, and more purposeful. Listen closely. What you choose today will echo for years. But do not let that pressure overwhelm you. Let it empower you. You are not being tested to fail. You are being invited to rise. Archangel Michael does not stand beside those who are unprotected. His presence means you are covered, guided, and defended as you move forward. Something inside you already knows what to do. The question is not whether God is speaking. The question is whether you will respond. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is a divine interruption meant to redirect your steps. Hold this moment with reverence. Let the noise fade. The next shift begins with what you decide today. My precious one, as this message continues to unfold, I need you to understand why the urgency feels stronger now than before. What is happening around you is not random movement. It is spiritual positioning. Heaven is not chaotic, and neither is this moment. Archangel Michael is not sounding an alarm without cause. He is drawing your attention because unseen lines are being crossed today, lines that separate hesitation from obedience, comfort from calling, and delay from divine acceleration. You may have noticed how familiar patterns are no longer satisfying you. What once felt acceptable now feels heavy. What once made sense now feels misaligned. This is not dissatisfaction. It is discernment awakening. God often disturbs what is familiar when it is no longer fruitful. Archangel Michael stands beside you now, not to frighten you, but to sharpen your awareness. The decision in front of you today carries authority because it determines which spiritual current you step into next. There's a reason distractions have increased. Small interruptions, emotional noise, unnecessary worries, these are not coincidences. When a life-shifting decision approaches, resistance rarely comes as something obvious. It often arrives disguised as busyness, doubt, or the feeling that you should wait a little longer. But hear this clearly. Waiting when God has already spoken is not patience, it is avoidance. And avoidance slowly steals momentum. Archangel Michael urges you to pay attention to what keeps resurfacing in your thoughts. God repeats what matters. If an idea, instruction, or conviction keeps returning, it is because it carries assignment. Ignoring it will not make it disappear, it will only make the tension grow. Peace does not come from staying still today. Peace comes from alignment. You are not being pushed into recklessness. You are being invited into courage. Courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means choosing obedience even when fear whispers reasons to stop. Heaven is not asking you to leap blindly. It is asking you to take the next right step, even if the staircase ahead is still hidden in shadow. Notice how this message found you. Out of countless voices and distractions, these words reached your ears at this exact time. That alone should tell you something. This is not entertainment. This is instruction. And instruction demands response. When you honor what God highlights, you activate movement in the unseen realm. If this message is resonating with your spirit, do not keep it to yourself. Engage with it. Let heaven know you are listening. Take a moment to like this video, because that simple action helps this message reach others who are standing at their own crossroads. Share it with someone you know who feels stuck, confused, or restless. They may be waiting for confirmation just like you were. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing alignment today, because spoken faith carries power. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now, so you remain connected to messages that strengthen your discernment and guide your steps. Your support is not small. It is part of how this word spreads beyond you. Archangel Michael reminds you that spiritual shifts rarely announce themselves with noise. They arrive quietly, wrapped in decisions that look ordinary to the natural eye. But heaven measures differently. One conversation you choose to have today, one boundary you decide to set, one step you finally take, these can redirect years of your life. Do not underestimate what God can do with a willing heart. There is protection surrounding this decision. That is why Archangel Michael is present. When you move in obedience, you do not walk alone. Resistance may try to intimidate you, but intimidation only proves that ground is being taken. Darkness never fights empty territory. It fights what is about to be claimed. Pay attention to how your body responds when you think about moving forward versus staying where you are. Your spirit recognizes truth before your mind catches up. Restlessness is not always a sign to stop. Sometimes it is a sign that you have outgrown where you are standing. This is also a moment of separation. Not everyone can follow you into the next season, and that is okay. God removes distractions to protect direction. What feels like loss today will soon reveal itself as relief. Trust the pruning process. You have always followed. As you continue listening, let go of the need for external validation. You do not need everyone to agree with your decision. You only need alignment with God. Obedience often looks lonely before it looks successful. But heaven never abandons those who choose faith over fear. Hold on, because what is coming next will bring even deeper clarity. You will begin to see why this day, this decision, and this moment could not have happened any other way. Stay with this message. What unfolds next may answer the very question you have been carrying in silence. My beloved one, now we step into the deeper reason this moment feels so heavy yet so sacred. What you are sensing is not pressure. It is purpose converging. January 3 is not marked on heaven's calendar by accident. This is a crossing point, a spiritual intersection where one road quietly ends and another begins. Archangel Michael is not only urging you to pay attention, he is bearing witness to a turning of direction that has been prepared long before you were aware of it. You have prayed for clarity, sometimes with words, sometimes only with tears, sometimes in silence when you were too tired to speak. Those prayers did not disappear. They were stored. And now, they are being answered through alignment, not explanation. God is not giving you every detail because the step requires trust more than information. Faith grows when you move without seeing the full map. There is a reason this decision feels personal. It is not generic. It is tailored to your calling, your wounds, your history, and your future. Others may not understand why this choice matters so much to you. They may see it as small or unnecessary. But heaven measures significance differently. One obedient step today can undo years of delay tomorrow. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian over transitions. He appears when spiritual authority is shifting. That is why his presence is strong around you now. Something is being reassigned. The cycle is closing. An old agreement, spoken or unspoken, is being broken. You are not who you were when that old path began, and you cannot carry yesterday's identity into tomorrow's assignment. You may feel grief for what you are leaving behind, even if it was painful. That is normal. Endings often come with mixed emotions. But hear this truth gently. God never removes something without preparing something greater. What feels like an ending is actually a release. And release is necessary for expansion. Notice how your discernment has sharpened. You see through things you once ignored. You feel uneasy in places that once felt comfortable. This is not judgment. It is maturity. Growth changes what you can tolerate. And God is honoring your growth by inviting you higher. This decision is also about timing. Obedience delayed can become obedience denied. Not because God withdraws his plan, but because seasons shift. Opportunities have windows. January 3 carries a window of grace that responds to action. When you move now, you move with momentum. When you hesitate, you move alone. Archangel Michael reminds you that you are not being reckless by choosing faith. You are being responsible to your calling. The safest place you can be is in alignment with God, even when it feels unfamiliar. Familiarity is not protection. Obedience is. If you feel unqualified, that is confirmation, not disqualification. God does not call the ready, He readies the called. What you need will meet you on the path, not before it. Provision follows movement. Strength follows surrender. Wisdom follows humility. Let go of the need to explain yourself to everyone. Some doors close quietly. Some goodbyes do not require speeches. Peace often comes when you stop over-justifying what God has already confirmed in your spirit. Silence can be an act of trust. As you listen, something within you is settling. That is alignment taking root. Confusion fades when purpose becomes clear. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to choose correctly. Now receive this activation with intention. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if this message is speaking directly to your spirit. Lesson code 444 is now released over your decision, bringing clarity, protection, and divine order. And hear this from my heart as this sacred moment settles. When God opens your eyes to truth, He also opens a channel for light to reach others. If this word has strengthened you, this is where obedience can become overflow. I hear the Spirit say, as you have received freely, now release freely. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not funding a channel. You are sowing into souls who are standing at their own crossroads. This seed becomes light, carried into places you may never see, awakening hearts God has already prepared. Heaven honors seeds sown in obedience, and I declare that what you release now will return as clarity, favor, and multiplied peace. Do not delay what God is prompting. Act, and let this obedience speak for you. My dear one, as you move deeper into this unfolding message, I need you to recognize something important. What feels uncertain right now is not instability. It is transition. Transitions always feel uncomfortable because they require you to loosen your grip on what is known before what is next becomes visible. Archangel Michael is near because transitions are sacred battlegrounds. They are the spaces where destiny is negotiated, where courage confronts fear, and where obedience proves its weight. Right now, Heaven is asking you to trust the process, not the feeling. Feelings fluctuate, but divine instruction does not. You may wake up confident one moment and doubtful the next. That does not mean you are off course. It means your mind is catching up to what your spirit already accepted. Growth always creates tension between who you were and who you are becoming. There is something you must understand clearly. Not every door that closes is a loss. Some doors close because you no longer fit through them. You have expanded, matured, and been refined through seasons you did not choose but survive. What once accommodated you can no longer contain you. This decision today is Heaven's way of honoring your growth. Archangel Michael wants you to know that spiritual resistance often intensifies right before breakthrough. If you have felt sudden doubt, irrational fear, or an urge to retreat, do not be alarmed. These are not signals to stop. They are signals that movement has begun. When you choose alignment, the unseen realm responds immediately. Light advances, and resistance reacts. You are not imagining the shift in your relationships either. Some people feel distant. Some conversations feel strained. Some connections feel complete. This is not punishment. It is positioning. God removes what no longer supports your assignment so that your next steps are not weighed down by unnecessary attachments. You are not being isolated. You are being focused. There is also a refinement happening in how you hear God. The noise that once distracted you is losing its grip. You are becoming more sensitive, more discerning, more aware. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is spiritual maturity. With it comes responsibility. When God sharpens your discernment, He expects you to honor it. You may still wish for confirmation from outside sources. A sign, a word, a reassurance from someone you trust. But hear this gently. God is teaching you to trust what He has already spoken. External confirmation is a gift, but internal conviction is authority. When God speaks to you directly, He invites you into deeper intimacy and greater responsibility. Archangel Michael stands firm beside those who step forward even when their knees shake. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is movement in spite of it. Heaven is not impressed by hesitation dressed up as wisdom. It responds to obedience wrapped in humility. Do not rush the process, but do not resist it either. There is a difference between patience and delay. Patience trusts God's timing. Delay avoids God's instruction. Today is about movement with intention, not speed. Even small steps taken in faith carry great authority. You may notice that peace returns in moments when you accept what you already know. That peace is confirmation. Anxiety rises when you try to negotiate with what God has made clear. Peace does not always mean comfort. Sometimes peace simply means alignment. This season is also teaching you boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your next chapter. Some people only knew you in survival mode. They may not recognize you in purpose. You do not need to explain your transformation. Let fruit speak. Archangel Michael reminds you that obedience creates protection. When you move where God sends you, you are covered where you go. Fear often exaggerates risk, but faith reveals covering. You are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into order, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. Be gentle with yourself as you adjust. You are unlearning old patterns and embracing new rhythms. Growth requires compassion for the parts of you that learn to survive before they learn to trust. God honors your journey, not just your destination. As this message continues to unfold, allow your heart to remain open. There is more clarity ahead. What feels foggy now will soon become focused. What feels heavy will soon feel purposeful. What feels uncertain will soon feel ordained. Stay present. Stay listening. Stay willing. The next layer of this message will reveal why this decision does not only affect you, but also those connected to your obedience. My precious soul, what you are stepping into now requires a deeper understanding of why obedience reshapes more than circumstances. It reshapes identity. God is not only changing where you are going, He is changing how you see yourself along the way. The decision placed before you today is not simply directional. It is transformational. Archangel Michael stands near because identity shifts require protection. When you change how you see yourself, everything around you begins to reorganize. For a long time, you have carried labels that were formed in survival seasons. You learn to adapt, to endure, to compromise parts of yourself just to keep moving. Those strategies once kept you afloat, but they were never meant to define you forever. Now God is inviting you to release survival thinking and step into purpose thinking. Survival asks, how do I get through this? Purpose asks, what am I being prepared for? This is why the decision feels weighty. You are not just choosing an option. You are choosing a version of yourself. One path keeps you familiar but limited. The other stretches you into growth that feels uncomfortable yet freeing. Archangel Michael reminds you that heaven always responds to growth with provision. You are not stepping into lack. You are stepping into alignment. You may notice resistance rising from within. Old fears resurfacing. Old memories whispering warnings. This is not regression. This is exposure. Before God elevates you, He reveals what still needs healing. What surfaces now is not meant to stop you. It is meant to be released. You cannot carry yesterday's wounds into tomorrow's calling. Understand this clearly. God does not ask you to choose without equipping you. The strength you need is already forming within you. It may not feel dramatic or loud, but it is steady. Courage often arrives quietly, disguised as a simple willingness to try again, to trust again, to step forward one more time. Archangel Michael's presence reminds you that your obedience is protected, even when misunderstood. Not everyone will applaud your growth. Some will question it. Some will resist it. That resistance does not define your direction. Your assignment was never meant to be approved by everyone, only aligned with God. There is also a subtle grieving happening. You are letting go of a version of yourself that was familiar, even if it was tired. That grief is valid. Growth often requires mourning what you are leaving behind. But do not confuse grief with regret. You are not losing yourself, you are finding yourself. As you consider this decision, notice what brings clarity versus what brings confusion. God's voice brings clarity, even when it challenges you. Fear brings confusion, even when it sounds logical. Discernment grows when you learn to distinguish between the two. Peace does not always come from choosing what is easy, it often comes from choosing what is true. This season is also refining your patience. You want answers quickly, confirmation instantly, results immediately. But God is teaching you to trust the process, not just the outcome. The pace of heaven is intentional. What develops slowly often lasts longer. Rushed growth rarely sustains. Archangel Michael urges you to remain anchored. When emotions fluctuate, anchor yourself in what God has already revealed. Write it down. Remember it. Revisit it. Revelation forgotten loses power. Revelation remembered becomes fuel. You may feel tempted to look back, to reconsider paths that once felt safer. But hear this. Looking back often distorts reality. You remember comfort and forget constraint. You remember familiarity and forget frustration. God is not calling you backward. He is calling you forward, even if forward feels unfamiliar. There is also an expansion happening in your spiritual authority. When you choose obedience consistently, your discernment sharpens, your confidence grows, and your prayers carry greater weight. Authority is built through alignment, not assertion. You do not need to force anything. Simply stay aligned. Let yourself rest in this truth. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing anything meant for you. God's timing is not rushed, and neither is His plan. What is unfolding now is precise. As this message continues, allow your heart to soften rather than harden. Change requires openness. Protection comes through trust. And trust grows when you remember who is guiding you. The next layer of this message will reveal how this decision not only shifts your internal world, but begins to rearrange external circumstances in ways you could not have orchestrated yourself. Stay with this unfolding. What is ahead is purposeful. My beloved one, now we move into a layer of truth that explains why your external world has felt unsettled lately. What you are witnessing is not chaos. It is rearrangement. When God shifts your internal alignment, your surroundings must eventually respond. Archangel Michael is present because transitions that affect your environment require spiritual order and protection. Heaven never rearranges without intention. You may have noticed delays where there used to be flow, or sudden changes where things once felt stable. This is not punishment, and it is not failure. It is redirection. God sometimes slows what you are forcing so He can speed up what you are meant to walk into. What feels like resistance may actually be mercy, preventing you from committing to something that no longer fits your assignment. This decision you are facing is acting like a key. When you turn it, certain doors will close quietly, without drama. Others will open unexpectedly, sometimes through people or opportunities you did not anticipate. This is how God works. He rarely announces His moves loudly. He allows fruit to speak. Archangel Michael reminds you that when your alignment shifts, your tolerance shifts too. You may feel less willing to entertain conversations that drain you, less patient with patterns that keep you small, less motivated to prove yourself. This is growth, not arrogance. Confidence rooted in obedience is quiet, steady, and unshakable. You are also learning that not every delay is meant to be fought. Some delays are invitations to listen. When God pauses your momentum, He is often protecting you from misalignment. Stillness can be strategic. Silence can be instructive. Do not rush through moments meant to recalibrate you. There is a temptation to compare your pace to others. You see people moving ahead, making progress, achieving milestones. But comparison blinds discernment. Their path is not your path. Their timing is not your timing. God customizes journeys. What looks slow to you may actually be precise. Archangel Michael urges you to remain attentive to small confirmations. A sentence that stands out. A conversation that answers a question you never spoke aloud. A sudden sense of peace when you accept a certain direction. These are not coincidences. They are markers. If this message is speaking to you, engage with it actively. Take a moment to like this video, because that action helps carry this word to others who are standing at their own crossroads. Share it with someone who feels restless or uncertain right now. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing obedience over fear, because words spoken in faith carry authority. And if you have not yet subscribed or joined this community, do so now. Staying connected keeps you spiritually alert and strengthened during seasons of transition. Archangel Michael also wants you to understand that obedience refines your hearing. The more you respond to what God highlights, the clearer His voice becomes. Disobedience dulls discernment, but obedience sharpens it. This is why small yeses matter. They train your spirit to recognize truth quickly. You may feel stretched financially, emotionally, or mentally during this time. Stretching is not breaking. It is expansion. Muscles grow under tension. Faith grows under pressure. God does not stretch what He does not intend to strengthen. Be mindful of what you agree with internally. Your thoughts are powerful. Fear-based thinking invites unnecessary weight. Faith-based thinking invites clarity. When doubt arises, do not panic. Simply return to what God has already confirmed. Anchor yourself there. There is also a lesson here about release. You cannot carry everything into the next season. Some expectations must be laid down. Some roles must be surrendered. Some responsibilities were temporary assignments, not permanent identities. Letting go creates room for what is next. Archangel Michael stands firm as a reminder that you are not navigating this alone. Spiritual authority surrounds obedience. You are covered as you move forward, even when the terrain feels unfamiliar. Protection does not always remove difficulty, but it ensures direction. Notice how this message continues to hold your attention. That is not accidental. There is something ahead that connects deeply to your personal journey. Before you drift away, stay with this unfolding. The next layer brings insight that may answer questions you have carried longer than you realize. My beloved one, as this message continues, you are being invited into a level of awareness that many avoid because it requires honesty with oneself. The decision before you is not only changing direction, it is exposing truth. God is gently removing the filters through which you have been seeing your life. Archangel Michael is present because truth requires protection. When clarity comes, it confronts illusion, and illusion never leaves quietly. You are beginning to see patterns for what they truly are, not what you hoped they would become. This can feel unsettling at first. You may realize that some cycles you thought were temporary became comfortable prisons. Some compromises you made to survive slowly became habits. God is not condemning you for this. He's illuminating it so you can be free from it. Freedom often begins with discomfort. The moment you see clearly, you can no longer pretend. And pretending is exhausting. That exhaustion you have felt is not because you are weak. It is because your spirit has outgrown the version of life you have been trying to maintain. Growth always exposes misalignment. Archangel Michael reminds you that truth is not meant to shame you. It is meant to strengthen you. When God reveals something, it is because He trusts you to handle it. Revelation is a sign of maturity. What you can see clearly, you can change intentionally. There is a refining of your desires happening now. Some things you once wanted no longer excite you. Some goals you chased now feel empty. This does not mean you are losing passion. It means your passion is being purified. God is aligning your desires with your assignment so that what you pursue no longer drains you but fuels you. You may feel moments of loneliness even while surrounded by people. This is not isolation. It is differentiation. God often separates internally before He separates externally. You are becoming aware of who truly aligns with your values, your growth, and your future. This awareness can feel heavy, but it is also liberating. You no longer have to force connections that no longer fit. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that spiritual maturity often requires solitude, not withdrawal, but reflection. Quiet moments allow truth to surface. Noise keeps you distracted from what needs attention. This season is inviting you to listen more deeply, not just to God, but to yourself. There is also an invitation here to forgive. Not because others deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Some of your hesitation around this decision is tied to unresolved wounds. God is not asking you to relive pain, but to release its hold. Forgiveness loosens what resentment tightens. You cannot move freely while carrying old weight. You are also learning discernment in a new way. Discernment is not suspicion. It is clarity. It allows you to see without fear and choose without guilt. When discernment grows, you no longer need to over-explain your boundaries. You simply honor them. This decision is teaching you to trust your inner knowing. You have spent years doubting yourself, second-guessing what you sensed, and seeking permission to be confident. God is restoring your trust in how He speaks to you personally. You do not need constant reassurance. You need alignment. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that obedience does not always feel powerful in the moment. Sometimes it feels quiet, ordinary, even anticlimactic. But its impact is cumulative. Small acts of obedience compound into major transformation over time. Be patient with yourself as layers peel away. You are not becoming someone else. You are returning to who you were created to be before fear, disappointment, and survival shaped your choices. This return may feel unfamiliar, but it is deeply authentic. There may be moments when you question whether this inner work is worth it, when progress feels invisible, when change feels slow. In those moments, remember that roots grow in darkness before fruit appears in light. What is happening within you now is laying foundation for what will soon be visible. Archangel Michael remains near because inner transformation attracts external testing. When your mindset shifts, circumstances may challenge that shift. This is not to undo your progress, but to strengthen it. Stand firm. You are learning to respond differently, not react impulsively. As this message continues, let yourself stay present with what is being revealed. Do not rush to fix everything at once. Awareness is the first step. Action will follow naturally. The next unfolding will reveal how this internal clarity begins to manifest externally in ways that confirm you are on the right path. Stay open. What is forming now is preparing you for visible change. My precious one, now you begin to see the evidence of what has been shifting within you. Internal alignment never stays hidden for long. What changes inside eventually manifests outside, because truth always seeks expression. Archangel Michael is still near, watching over this stage carefully, because this is where many people doubt themselves. When subtle confirmations begin to appear, the mind often tries to explain them away. But do not dismiss what God is revealing through patterns, timing, and divine interruptions. You may notice that certain opportunities are coming closer without force. Conversations are opening that once felt blocked. Information is reaching you at the exact moment you need it. These are not coincidences. This is alignment responding to obedience. When you choose rightly, the environment begins to cooperate. What once felt heavy now feels lighter, not because life is perfect, but because resistance has less authority over you. At the same time, you may notice contrast. Some things fall apart quickly. Plans you were considering suddenly lose momentum. People you expected support from step back. This can feel confusing if you interpret it through emotion. But through discernment, it becomes clear. God is accelerating separation to protect direction. What leaves now would have limited you later. Archangel Michael reminds you that confirmation does not always come as comfort. Sometimes confirmation comes as removal. God answers prayers not only by adding, but also by subtracting. What exits your life at this stage is making room for what cannot enter while clutter remains. This decision you made, or are in the process of fully committing to, is beginning to mark you spiritually. You are more aware, more grounded, less reactive. Alone is evidence of growth. External validation is not required when internal peace increases. Peace is one of the clearest signs of alignment. You may feel moments of excitement followed by moments of uncertainty. This does not mean you chose wrong. It means you are human. Faith and doubt often coexist during transition. What matters is which one you feed. When doubt arises, return to what God already confirmed. Repetition strengthens conviction. Archangel Michael stands firm to remind you that your authority is increasing, even if your circumstances have not fully caught up yet. Authority is not loud. It is steady. It shows up in how you respond under pressure, how you set boundaries without guilt, and how you move forward without needing approval. Be mindful not to rush the manifestation. Timing matters. Premature movement can disrupt divine order. Trust that what is unfolding is intentional, layered, and protected. What God builds with precision lasts longer than what is rushed by impatience. There is also a deepening of your spiritual sensitivity. You sense things sooner. You recognize misalignment faster. This is not paranoia. It is discernment maturing. With this sensitivity comes responsibility. Protect your peace. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. You are learning that obedience simplifies life. Not because challenges disappear, but because confusion loses its grip. Clarity reduces inner conflict. When you are aligned, decisions require less justification. You simply know. Now receive this moment intentionally. Type "I accept" the shift in the comments if this message confirms what God has been doing in your life. Blessing code 818 is now activated, releasing divine order, protection, and accelerated clarity over your path. And as this sacred confirmation settles, hear this invitation that flows directly from the heart of God. I sense the Spirit saying, those who have been aligned must now help align others. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are sowing into moments like this. Moments where clarity interrupts confusion and light reaches searching hearts. Your seed becomes a voice that travels beyond borders, touching lives you may never meet but heaven already knows by name. This is not a donation. It is a prophetic response. I speak blessing over every giver, declaring that what you release in obedience will return as open doors, divine favor, and multiplied peace. Do not hesitate when God prompts you. Act now, and let your obedience echo. My beloved one, now we enter a phase where consistency becomes more important than intensity. The initial clarity has settled, and the excitement of confirmation may feel quieter. This is not a loss of momentum. It is stabilization. God does not sustain His work through emotional highs, but through faithful alignment. Archangel Michael remains present because this is where discipline protects destiny. Many people fail not at the moment of decision, but in the days that follow it. When life returns to routine, when challenges persist, when the novelty fades, doubt tries to creep back in. But hear this clearly, obedience is not proven in dramatic moments alone. It is proven in daily choices that honor what God has already revealed. You may find yourself tempted to revisit old options, not because they were right, but because they are familiar. Familiarity can feel comforting when progress feels slow. But progress is still progress, even when it is quiet. Growth does not always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Archangel Michael urges you to guard what have been entrusted to you. This includes your mindset, your time, and your energy. Not every invitation is meant to be accepted. Not every opportunity is aligned. Discernment is not about avoiding life. It is about choosing what feeds your purpose. This season requires you to be intentional. What you consume matters. What you speak over yourself matters. What you tolerate matters. Alignment is maintained through awareness. When you notice yourself drifting mentally or emotionally, gently return to center. Condemnation is unnecessary. Correction is enough. You may notice that some days feel ordinary, even uneventful. Do not misinterpret this as stagnation. Ordinary days are where foundations are built. Routine is not the enemy of purpose. It is the container that holds it. God often works most powerfully in what feels mundane. There is also a strengthening of your patience happening now. You are learning to trust God's timing without needing constant reassurance. This trust is not passive. It is active endurance. Endurance is faith that stays when results delay. Archangel Michael reminds you that spiritual authority grows through consistency. When you respond to God the same way on calm days as you do on challenging ones, you become steady. Steadiness carries weight in the spiritual realm. You may still encounter resistance externally. People may question your direction. Circumstances may challenge your resolve. This does not mean you are off course. Resistance often increases when commitment deepens. Stay anchored. You do not need to defend your obedience. Let fruit speak in time. Be mindful of self-sabotage. Sometimes when things begin to align, the mind looks for ways to disrupt progress because stability feels unfamiliar. If you notice this, pause. Ask yourself what you are afraid of gaining, not losing. Success can be just as confronting as failure. God is also refining your expectations. You may have imagined change would look a certain way. When it unfolds differently, disappointment tries to settle in. Release those expectations. Trust the outcome, not the image you created. God's plan is often better than our predictions. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that perseverance is protected. You are not pushing alone. Strength is being supplied as needed. Even when you feel tired, grace meets you where you are. There is something powerful happening beneath the surface. Connections are aligning. Resources are being positioned. Timing is being calibrated. You do not see it all yet, but movement is happening. Remain faithful in what is in front of you. Do not neglect small responsibilities while waiting for larger ones. Stewardship of the present prepares you for the future. God watches how you handle what you already have. As this message continues, allow yourself to remain grounded. Do not chase signs. Do not seek constant affirmation. Rest in what has already been confirmed. Stability is a sign of maturity. The next unfolding will bring insight into how this steady obedience begins to open doors that once felt permanently closed. Stay attentive. What comes next will show you why perseverance matters more than speed. My beloved one, now we arrive at a stage where movement becomes visible. What was once hidden beneath patience and consistency is beginning to surface in practical ways. Doors that stayed shut for years are starting to loosen. Conversations you never imagined having are now possible. This is not sudden luck. This is accumulated obedience finding expression. Archangel Michael remains near because when momentum increases, direction must be guarded. You may notice that decisions feel easier now. What once required long prayer and wrestling now comes with quicker clarity. This is not because you have become careless, but because discernment has matured. When alignment is strong, confusion loses its voice. You are learning to recognize what belongs to you and what does not without needing to force outcomes. At the same time, the season will test your commitment. Progress attracts attention, and not all attention is healthy. Some people may suddenly reappear. Old opportunities may resurface, dressed in new language. Do not assume that everything returning is meant to stay. Discernment is required not only for new doors, but also for reopened ones. Archangel Michael urges you to stay anchored in why you said yes in the first place. Revisit the clarity you received. Remember the peace that followed obedience. When momentum builds, it is easy to get distracted by options, but focus protects fulfillment. This is also a moment where gratitude becomes important. Gratitude keeps your heart soft while success grows. When you acknowledge God's hand in small breakthroughs, you remain teachable. Pride disconnects. Gratitude aligns. You may still encounter moments of pressure. Increased responsibility often brings increased demand. But do not confuse pressure with opposition. Sometimes pressure is simply proof that capacity has expanded. God does not stretch where he does not trust. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that your growth is being watched in the unseen realm. How you steward this momentum matters. Integrity now determines longevity later. Stay honest. Stay humble. Stay aligned. If this message has been walking with you through clarity, confusion, patience, and now movement, do not let it stop here. Engage with it. Take a moment to like this video so this word can continue reaching others who are waiting for confirmation. Share it with someone who feels stuck between obedience and fear. Leave a comment declaring that you are staying aligned, because spoken faith reinforces internal commitment. And if you have not yet subscribed, join this community now so you remain connected to messages that sharpen discernment and strengthen obedience. Your engagement is not small. It helps carry this word where it is needed most. Be aware of one subtle challenge in this phase: the temptation to rush. When things start working, impatience can sneak in, urging you to move faster than wisdom allows. Speed without direction leads to burnout. Pace guided by God leads to sustainability. Trust timing even when progress excites you. You are also learning to trust yourself in a new way. Not ego, but confidence rooted in obedience. You no longer need constant reassurance because you recognize the fruit of alignment. This confidence is quiet. It does not announce itself. It simply moves forward steadily. Archangel Michael reminds you that protection increases with obedience. When you move where God sends you, you are shielded where you walk. This does not mean challenges disappear, but it means they do not derail you. Resistance no longer defines your direction. There may be moments when you look back and barely recognize who you were months ago. This is growth. Transformation often feels subtle day by day, but dramatic in hindsight. Honor how far you have come without becoming complacent. Stay attentive to your inner life. Success can be loud. Your spirit speaks softly. Make space to listen. Quiet moments keep you aligned when life speeds up. Before you drift away, stay with this unfolding. What comes next reveals how this momentum is not just about progress, but about purpose that reaches beyond you. Trust me, the next layer brings insight that connects everything you have walked through so far. My beloved one, now we come to a place where understanding deepens beyond personal progress. What God has been doing in you was never meant to end with you. Alignment always carries overflow. When a life shifts into its rightful path, it begins to affect environments, people, and outcomes far beyond what the individual can see. Archangel Michael remains present because this phase involves influence, and influence must be guarded with wisdom. You may begin to notice that others respond differently to you now. Some are drawn to your calm. Some ask for your insight. Some feel challenged simply by your presence. This is not because you have changed into someone superior, but because alignment carries authority. When your inner life is ordered, it quietly brings order wherever you go. This is where humility becomes essential. Authority rooted in obedience must always be balanced with compassion. God does not elevate to isolate, but to serve. The clarity you now carry is not a weapon. It is a light. How you use it matters. Influence without humility becomes control. Influence with humility becomes healing. Archangel Michael reminds you that your words carry more weight now. Be mindful of what you speak, especially in moments of frustration or fatigue. Authority amplifies impact. Blessings and warnings both travel faster when spoken by someone aligned. Choose words that build rather than burden. You may also notice a stronger sense of responsibility. Not pressure, but awareness. You recognize that your choices affect more than just you. This awareness can feel heavy if misunderstood, but it is actually an invitation into maturity. God trusts you with greater impact because you have proven faithful with personal alignment. At this stage, temptation may shift. Instead of pulling you backward, It may try to inflate you forward. Pride can be subtle. It whispers that you no longer need guidance, rest, or accountability. Resist that voice. Growth does not eliminate the need for dependence on God. It deepens it. Archangel Michael stands firm to remind you that protection is maintained through surrender. The moment you believe you have arrived, you stop growing. Stay teachable. Stay listening. Stay aware that every level of authority comes with a greater need for humility. You may also experience a renewed compassion for others who are still where you once were. What once frustrated you now moves you to empathy. This is a sign of healing. When wounds heal, they become wisdom. Wisdom does not judge, it guides. There is also a call to integrity in hidden places. Alignment is tested most in private. What you choose when no one sees matters deeply. Public fruit is sustained by private faithfulness. God sees consistency long before people see success. Archangel Michael reminds you that influence is stewarded, not owned. Everything you carry is entrusted. When you remember this, pressure lifts and purpose remains pure. You are not responsible for outcomes, only obedience. You may feel moments of weariness here. Serving from overflow requires replenishment. Do not neglect rest. Rest is not retreat, it is strategy. God restores strength so that obedience remains joyful, not burdensome. This phase also invites gratitude for the journey behind you. Not every step was easy. Not every season made sense. But each one shaped discernment, resilience, and faith. Honor the process. It prepared you for this level of clarity. Archangel Michael remains near because finishing well matters just as much as starting well. Many begin with passion, but few sustain with wisdom. You are being taught how to carry purpose without losing peace. As this message continues toward its completion, let your heart remain open. There is one final layer ahead that brings everything together. What you decided, what you endured, what you aligned with, it all leads to a moment of release, blessing, and confirmation. Stay present. Stay grounded. The final unfolding will seal what God has been preparing, and it will speak directly to the future now opening before you. My beloved child, this is the moment where everything you have sensed, endured, questioned, and obeyed begins to settle into understanding. Not because every detail is explained, but because your spirit now recognizes the truth. Nothing about this journey was random. The decision made, the patience required, the resistance faced, the clarity gained, all of it has been leading you here. Archangel Michael stands with a quiet authority now, not urging, not warning, but affirming. What needed to shift has shifted. You are no longer standing at the crossroads. You have crossed. The ground beneath your feet is different, even if the scenery looks familiar. This is what transformation often looks like. The change happens within first, and only later does the world catch up. But heaven already knows. The unseen realm already adjusted. Paths have been rerouted. Delays have been lifted. Protection has been reassigned. What once confused you no longer has the same power. You still may not have every answer, but you have something far more valuable. Discernment. Discernment allows you to move forward without panic. It allows you to wait without anxiety. It allows you to act without fear. This is maturity, and heaven honors it. Archangel Michael's presence here is significant. He appears at moments of sealing, when a season is not just ending, but being closed with authority. Old cycles no longer have permission to repeat themselves. Old fears no longer have the same access. Old voices that once shaped your decisions are losing their influence. This is not because you became stronger alone, but because you stayed aligned. You may feel a quiet confidence now. Not loud, not performative, just steady. That steadiness is evidence of trust restored, trust in God, and trust in how He speaks to you personally. You no longer need to chase signs because you recognize truth when it arrives. You no longer need to rush because you understand timing. You no longer need to prove yourself because purpose is unfolding naturally. There will still be challenges ahead. Alignment does not remove responsibility, but you are equipped differently now. What once overwhelmed you will now be approached with wisdom. What once strained you will now be discerned early. What once delayed you will now be navigated with clarity. Growth has changed your posture. Archangel Michael wants you to remember this above all. Obedience is cumulative. Every small yes mattered. Every moment you chose trust over fear mattered. Even the days you felt uncertain but stayed faithful mattered. Nothing was wasted. God is precise. He does not rush processes, and He does not forget sacrifices. Now receive this sealing with intention and faith. Type "I walk in divine alignment" in the comments if this message confirms what God has completed in you. Blessing code 1212 is now released, sealing clarity, protection, and forward momentum over your life. What God has aligned cannot be undone by confusion or delay. And now, hear this final invitation, flowing directly from the heart of this moment. I sense the Spirit saying, "What I have completed in you, let me multiply through you." If this word has guided you, strengthened you, and helped you discern God's voice, this is where your obedience can become someone else's breakthrough. When you release support through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are partnering with heaven to carry light into lives standing where you once stood. This is seed sown into open ground, and God is not mocked when obedience meets generosity. I declare that every giver is blessed with clarity, provision, and divine favor, pressed down and overflowing. Do not delay when God prompts you. Act now, and let your obedience continue to speak long after this message ends.